Good, good morning. That was a little. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be back for another Coffee with the Mayor. I want to welcome Corbin Holtzman and his wife Ashton. Corbin does business in Olivet, but he also, him and his sister are Coma Coffee on Brentwood. And so since he's also a businessman in our city, he offered to bring coffee this morning. So enjoy the Coma Coffee and the homemade croissants. But I also want to tell Corbin that we would love another coffee shop in Olivet. So come find a spot and but we really appreciate it. It's very thoughtful. So usually at Coffee with the Mayor, we always start off with introductions and ask everyone who's in attendance to say who they are. And it's usually tied in, like when I had the Parks Commission, Parks Director, I said, what's your favorite park or what? And people were like, that's like asking me my favorite child. But I also asked people to share, different things related to, but I'm not, because of HIPAA, I'm not going to ask you if you've ever had the fire truck or the ambulance at your house. So I think today we're just going to stick plain and simple, just share who you are and we'll get started.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Susan. And I just want to thank you for your service. First of all, appreciate it. And yes, I have had the ambulance there. And I wanted to say thank you, but that was when my daughter was about 10. And unfortunately, my husband took her to play basketball and forgot her inhaler and came home and said, she really isn't breathing too well. And you guys were there. I was calling our doctor, and you guys were there before I could get him on the phone. So I appreciate it, but I hope I don't have to see you for me. So anyway, thank you.
Yes, Vaughn Morrill, 580 Dealman, and I will also thank you very much for your service. Thank you. It's not an easy job.
Jim Person, Warren Llewellyn. Unfortunately, I have never seen you in your trucks on the way to my house.
I am Corbin Holtzman. I have seen you guys a few times, and you're there to help me through our building problems. We had a fun water main break with the flowers situation last year, but we really appreciate your guys' service, and thank you for having us and making yourself available to us. Appreciate it.
I'm Ashton Holtzman, Corbin's wife. I just try to keep him organized and on the straight and narrow. So that's why I'm here.
I'm Leslie Ricard. I live on North Price Road in the pumpkin colored house that people know. And thank you for your service. And you do a great job. And it's really great to have such a responsive organization in all of that.
Thank you. My name's Roy. I'm an alumni, but we recently had to have a fire department out to the condo where I live, where one of the dorm windows had come off, and it was hanging just precariously off the roof, and we didn't know how we was ever going to get that. And someone said to call the fire department. They came out and they got up on our roof and was able to pull the dorm window in. I mean, I didn't realize they did it. There's probably all kinds of things that the fire department does, but I don't know what we would have done. We was already trying to keep people walking on the sidewalk so it wouldn't fall on them, but we didn't know what to do. So they were a big help. Thank you.
David Goldie. I want to thank the fire department because they arrived at my house 3 times in 2 hours to help pick up my wife, who collapsed in my kitchen in my bedroom. She's now up and walking, so she's getting healthy. It only took her 4 weeks to get in the present position, but I want to thank the fire department and their 2 guys. Thanks.
Jerry Newell. I've fortunately not needed the fire department in the last 61 plus years, but it's comforting to know that you're here if I need you. I'm not sure at 91 or 92 years old, I want to be resuscitated. So, well, because what comes in the future might not be as bad as what I'm getting. But anyway, thank you very much for being here, and we appreciate your service.
Jan Fitzgerald, 37-year resident. I have a different type of story, but it's still was involved with the fire department. I came home from work one evening and turned on the faucet, in my downstairs basement sink. The handle came off in my hand and water came rushing out at me. I live alone. I called the two people who are my rescuers usually in these situations. Neither of them were even in the country. I didn't know what the heck to do, so I called 911. And shortly thereafter, and some of you may remember this, 5 very able firemen came to my house to turn it off, find the water main, which I had no idea where it was. And they even cleaned up the mess in the basement, which I still to this day appreciate. So wasn't life-threatening in some ways, but to me it was. So thank you again for your service. And I brought you all cookies, so I hope you remember that as well.
Life-saving, but I was on my way to religious services one morning and accidentally put my purse on the hood of the car without realizing, or the back of the car. When I got there, I didn't have my purse. So I retraced my steps back home, and there was a card in my door from a policeman. Somebody had turned it in and he delivered the purse right to my door. Nothing missing, everything perfect. Yeah. But I just like being 5 minutes from where you are. I mean, that in itself, when you live alone, is very, very satisfying.
Hi, I'm Don LaChance. I'm the Assistant Director for the Parks and Recreation Department. And I like fire.
Hi, my name is Tanya Welch. I'm part of the Finance Department. I'm an accountant here, and I like the fire department too.
I am Bridget Waters. I am the Deputy City Clerk for the city, but I started off as the fire department secretary. I'm like to say that I keep these guys in charge up there.
Hi, I'm Sarah Runzer. I'm the court administrator here, and I just came to sit in and say hi.
Morning, David Barry, Deputy Chief of Police, and firemen are been working with some of these guys the whole 28 years I've been here, and good bunch over there. Hard workers and never let anything, no shortcuts. And I want to thank Jim up there in front. He did a fantastic job at Turkey Trot with the parking on the parking lot.
Morning, I'm Carlos Trejo, the Planning and Community Development Director.
Good morning. I'm Kiana Fleming, the Communications Manager. Thank you guys for coming.
Introduce yourself behind the computer.
Barb Sundag, the City Manager here.
Thank you. So this morning, we're doing things a little different. I have a trio from the fire department. We have Fire Chief Steve Carmen. We have Assistant Fire Chief Tim Fain and Captain Parker Spencer. And you'll see why I invited all three, because when we say that it takes a village, or refer to the fire department, when they refer to each other as a family, I mean, they're part of the Olivet family. They work as a team. Everything they do, they work as a team. And under Steve's leadership, and with him now partnering with him as the Assistant Fire Chief, it's magic over there, what they do. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce the three, tell you a little bit more about them, and then we're going to have a little dialogue. And then at the end, we'll open up to Q&A. So I'll start with Steve. Steve has been the fire chief of the city of Olivet since 2018. He grew up always wanting to be a firefighter, and has served in the fire service for 34 years as a firefighter paramedic. Chief Carmen really enjoys serving the city of Olivet and its small, friendly community. He He enjoys getting out and meeting people in the community. His hobbies include fishing, hunting, going to our Southern Missouri ranch. Oh, your to his. Okay. Now you know that he wrote his bio. He enjoys going to his Southern Missouri ranch with his beautiful wife. I think that when you started here, you were newlyweds or you got married, and then so you're still newlyweds, I guess. So that's exciting. Tim Fain, I've known a little bit longer because this is wrapping up my third term, believe it or not. But Tim Fain, our assistant fire chief and fire marshal, holds that position for the fire department. Tim has been with the Olivet Fire Department for 26 years. He has been married to his wife Lisa for 33, and they have 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. On his off time, Tim loves being around his family and grandchildren, and his hobbies include woodworking, hiking on the state of Missouri conservation land and national forest properties. Captain Parker Spencer, who's with us today, began his career with the Olivet Fire Department in 2017. Prior to that, he spent 9 years with the U.S. Navy as a hospital corpsman. He was promoted to captain in March of 2022 and is currently assigned to the B shift. Captain Spencer leads the Olivet Fire Department tactical rescue programs to include swift water rescue and high angle rope rescue, and is the department training officer. The certification includes swift water rescue, high angle rope rescue, and confined space rescue. And that means you have no hobbies or climbing. So oh, wow. Okay. That's your full-time hobby. Okay. So this morning, the 3 of us are just going to kind of are going to just visit with one another and share some information. So you'll learn more about our fire department as well as this team of leadership. So my first question is if I'd like you each to share what inspired you to be a firefighter or first responder. Start with the chief.
Oh, back in, I think it was early 70s, there was a show out on TV called Emergency. And I was a little guy and watching Emergency all the time. And after the show got over, I'd run out and get on my bike and ride down the street, wailing my siren the best I could, scaring all the neighbors, I'm sure. But I was always inspired by Johnny and Roy. And my dad was always a volunteer firefighter out in Washington for many years as well. So I had a hero to look up to.
It doesn't go back that far. However, I grew up across the street from a fire department in Valley Park, and that inspired me because actually they had to come respond to my house because my brother and I were skateboarding down in the basement, knocked off the gas line to the furnace. And as the younger one, and I guess I was quicker than my brother, I don't know, I ran to the fire department, knocked on the door, and they said a few words to me that your dad's going to do something to you when he gets home. They come right over, do what they normally do, what we do today, just turn the gas off. But actually, after that, it was my brother who inspired me. My brother became a volunteer fire department firefighter with Valley Park, and well, wanted to be like my big brother. So that's what I did. I just followed up. He did not. He became state patrol instead.
Even more recently. Back when I was about 12 years old, I just finished up playing a baseball game out in Ellisville, and Autumn View Gardens, which is a retirement center up on the hill there, was on fire. So my dad parked at the Home Depot a little bit away, and we just kind of sat in the car for about a half hour and talked about it, watched it. And that really spiked my interest in becoming a firefighter. So at age 14, Metro West, which is the fire district out in where I lived in Ellisville, they have a Explorer volunteer program. So at 14 years old, I joined them. And on Friday nights, all the friends were at movie theaters or the mall, and I was up riding on the fire truck. So that got my passion for it early on there. But in 2002.
So it's not just. We held our first city council meeting here in March of 2016, and the assistant chief, you actually were in the previous building at the old firehouse, and for the chief, you came into the state-of-the-art building that we built and that we're incredibly proud of. So I'd like you first to address what some of those conditions were and some of the things, what it was like in that building, and for you to address what it's like being in the state-of-the-art building and some of the things we're able to do because of this building.
The old fire department, 9473 Olive, though I was there after it was remodeled, the original time where they added on to the back of the building, and I believe the second floor, Dave might remember this a little bit more than me. The engine bay there was originally for a fire truck and a rescue truck at the time, a small emergency 51, rescue 51 style vehicle. Ventilation in there, when you started up a diesel fire truck, gas engine of a rescue truck, all that exhaust went into your sleeping area, your kitchen, your TV room. So conditions for that were hazardous to us for many years. It was still a family though. It was. We had a bunk room upstairs that had 21 beds in there. And it was military lifestyle up in that bedroom. Everybody slept in different little areas, but everybody was still sleeping there, snoring, other functions, but it was still there. We had a TV out in the engine bay. That was our go-to area to sit and watch TV as a family. The kitchen, when it was remodeled for the second time in the kitchen, our plates wouldn't fit in the cabinets. The cabinets were too shallow. But the conditions of it, it was still family. We still were able to get together, have family over, have our friends out, stuff like this. But we made it work. That was the thing with the fire department. You work with what you got and you improvise.
I worked over at Richmond Heights for 30 years, and coming into the building, I was very impressed. We have a training tower, hose tower over there, a local company, Fire Tech, I think it was. They, for our training tower, they put 4 different type of sprinkler heads up there so the guys can train with that. It's neat to have a place that on our site that the guys can train with. We added a hydrant out front so they can actually flow water, test hose and stuff like that. So coming into a building that you use state of the art, it is very much appreciative. I appreciate it. It's up to date with a lot of stuff. We're still working on a few things here and there, but it's been very enjoyable. I really enjoy the community and everybody I work with. It's been, if I could write a script, I couldn't write it any better than it's been.
And we have a slide.
So when we opened the building, Tim was here, but you guys weren't. And we opened the building, we had an open house and we allowed people to go down the slide. And I think all the council members went down. I ended up backwards and head first. So I don't know how that happened because I started off, it's a fast slide. But the kids that came to the open house that day, they loved going down that slide. But the thing I remember most about the old firehouse, and one of the reasons that I really advocated for this one was this getting the fire trucks in. The garage doors were so low and that we couldn't buy the next state of the art, fire truck, ambulance. And since then this past year, we got our new fire truck, we have a new ambulance, and it's amazing, they actually, for one of the events last year, as we came back from the pandemic, had a blow up jump house in there. We could not have done that at the old fire station. I'd like each of you to share an initiative that you started during your time here at Olivet. But I think this time we'll start with the captain.
So one of my priorities, and as the mayor read my intro, is our technical rescue and special operations programs. So it's still a building program. And what that means is, or I guess what my vision was, is we could get called for anything from turning off a faucet sink to somebody running their car into the retention pond at 170 an hour. And as things grow up, our buildings grow up and our commercial development expands, that need could come at any moment. So one of the things I've been working on is, one, getting our personnel properly trained. There's lots of classes out there, working with the city manager and the council to figure out what, and the fire chiefs to figure out what our people need and the resources. So it's a building program, and we'll talk more about one of them here in a little bit. But my whole goal with that initiative is just to have us ready to respond to any emergency that could, that anybody could dream up in the city. So we never know when it'll come. It may never come. Hopefully it never comes, but if it does, we want to be ready.
Back 2014, well, since fire departments existed, we've always had to, at times, get into people's houses. And sometimes it's breaking in, sometimes it's somebody's meeting us at the door. But in 2014, I started a rapid access program for the department, and it's a residential lockbox program. And it's a little lockbox that the fire department, the city actually paid for the boxes. And we install those on people that are getting to the point that they fall a lot or they can't get to the door to let us in, so we don't have to break anything. We put a key in there, their house key. Fire department only knows the key code, and we let our dispatch know. So we go to this address, this code is told that hey, this has a rapid access box on there. Firefighters know this code. So we're not then breaking into your house and doing damage, which is another report. The rapid access program has been very successful with our town. If person moves, leaves, sells the house, whatever, they just contact the city and we'll come and go get the box back and give them their key back. This program's been great. It's been a borrowed program. It wasn't original here. I found it at some other location and just used their information and it went great. So we have still boxes available. And if they contact the fire department, we can set up that program for that house.
One of the initiatives that I brought from Richmond Heights is the leadership development. And one thing that we do is we take a look at some of the younger firefighters that are up and coming, ones that we can see some leadership traits in them. And we talk with them and try to encourage them to take the proper classes. So in the future, when it's time for some of the leadership to move on and retire, we have people that are ready to step into those roles and act in those roles and take the department a step farther. And one of the things that I talked with Tim about and we kind of discussed is it's not just leadership, it's a career development. So some of our firefighters may not want to be a captain or a chief. They may just want to come in and be a firefighter. So we sit with them, and some of them may just want to drive the truck, or some firefighters may want to excel in the EMS field. And we sit and discuss and advise and coach and counsel them whichever what direction they want to take their career, and encourage them. And Parker's been really great. He's our new training officer, and he's been really fabulous with taking that even a step farther.
Thank you, because that's a perfect segue to talking with Parker about when university had the flooding. I don't know if people are aware that your crew B, right? Crew B was on staff that evening during the flooding. And because Parker had the swift water rescue skills, he was able to bring the crew to U City and help down there. And there's pictures of one of your officers, it might even be you, carrying an infant out. But someone on your crew carried out like an 8-week-old infant in the waters that night. And it's, but if you saw the pictures, it was unbelievable, the help. And even, the mayor from University City sent us a thank you letter and said, we hope we don't ever have to do this for you, but, thank you, and turnabout's fair play. And please, hopefully they never have to do that for us. But so you all came before the city council recently after the flood in U City, because you wanted to explore the possibility of, training officers and starting an initiative such as that, and wanted to know if the council was interested in you moving forward or exploring that. And I would like Captain Spencer to share with us what that would look like, and if we were, as you would train people, and what that would allow us to do.
Yeah, thank you. I think first, let me set the stage for what we had previously. So this event occurred on July 26th. We got dispatched approximately 2:30 in the morning over to University City with our fire truck, and we had 4 personnel in the fire truck. I pulled up to a large apartment complex right on River de Pere and Olive, and it was already about 2 to 4 foot under, water was about 2 to 4 foot high already in the apartment complex. So at that time on our fire truck, all we had was one life jacket, a rescue life jacket, and I had a helmet, and that's about the extent of the equipment we carried at that time, because we had never really explored this program in the past. So myself being a swiftwater technician, I started going in and assisting people while the rest of the crew set up safety devices and other things. We made, with the assistance of Union City Fire, numerous rescues at night all throughout the city. Fortunately, there were no bad situations that occurred, but if we had the proper equipment, which we're working on now, the amount of rescues and the time would have been able to accomplish much quicker. So what are we looking at now? Just because this flooding occurred in U City and not in Olivet doesn't mean flooding in Olivet is not possible. We have firefighters here at this department whose either parents or themselves dealt with a lot of flooding in River de Pere, a lot of commercial development. I know we do a good job with our planning and development of making sure our water runoff goes in the right areas, but we never know how that rainwater is going to affect it, let alone 12 or 14 inches of rain. Nothing can prevent, flooding. So what our goal with the program is, each shift, so the fire department has 3 shifts, A, B, and C. Obviously, somebody is always here. Our goal is out of each shift to have 3 members that are swiftwater rescue technicians. And what that means is there's a car floating down River de Pere. They're going to have the training then to dive in there, rescue somebody off that car. If they're standing water, they have the proper training then to go through that standing water, avoid any of the storm drain lids that have popped up so nobody falls through, and rescue people. So the training for that includes a week-long swiftwater rescue class where it could be held at, they have it locally in Six Flags St. Louis, Thunder River, as many of us know it. I personally went up to South Bend, Indiana, near Notre Dame, and did my class up there. It's a pretty intense week-long course, a lot of swimming, a lot of drinking water that you're not doing on purpose. But really good training to prepare for something I never thought I would actually have to use in real life. Along with the training of at least 9 total members, we needed the equipment. And thanks to the council, the city manager, and the residents of Olivet, we're on our way to getting that. What that equipment looks like, a lot of ropes, a lot of dry suits. This event that I was in took place in July, but if it happened next week where it's going to be 6 degrees, we had flooding, I believe, in 2017 or 18, right around the holiday season when it was really cold. So if this would happen in cold weather, we need something to keep us warm and dry. So it'll be the purchase of dry suits, the life jackets, the helmets, all the equipment. Obviously, none of it being cheap, but in preparation in case, again, hopefully something that never does occur. But the program will outfit the members with the training and the equipment needed to perform those services should something ever happen in the city of Olivet or our neighboring communities in the future.
Assistant Chief, will you speak up with us about the, now as Assistant Chief, you've taken on the duties of Fire Marshal. Can you share with us some of those experiences or the kinds of things that you're dealing with?
all I can say right now. Been the state certified fire inspector for 20 plus years. Title is fire marshal since I was promoted as assistant chief. But we did help at one time with the old assistant chief and the one prior to them to go in and assist looking at things in different buildings. It's been eye-opening. It's been real eye-opening, and the time consumption of going to different facilities, different buildings. We've had the Oliver down here after it was starting to be framed and be built. The amount of time that actually myself and the crews went down there to look around there and make sure that it's done properly. The building was built like it's supposed to be, up to the code. The fire life safety standards were all built to proper code. Olive Crossing, I'm down there 3 days a week, if not 2 to 3 hours each time, doing inspections and stuff like that in town. I strongly suggest my crews to go down there and start looking at it, preparing themselves as the people that will respond to this beyond the chief and I, but they're going to be the first ones down there on a call to know these buildings, to know what the layout is, to know the numbering of the rooms and how they go when you first get in there. The fire marshal is pretty vital to this city, to any city. It's a process, and those processes should, that I follow, that when I'm received a set of plans, be a building plan, sprinkler, fire alarm, whatever it is, that I make sure that they're in the right locations.
Some people aren't aware that like with Old Bonham School, when that opened, like every classroom, all of these things, we work hand in hand with all of these facilities, not just through our building department, but also with the fire. There's no silos here. No department stands alone. They're all interactive. And I think that's, she'll blush, but I'll say kudos to Barb Sondag for her leadership as the city manager, because, it takes someone at the helm to help coordinate that and have people work together in a systematic way and a synchronized way. Before we open to Q&A, I would like each of you to share a highlight of your career here in Olivet, or just in your career over the years, if you haven't, been here throughout your whole career.
Of course. Of course. The highlight of my career, I think, that's kind of tough. There's a lot of things that really touch my heart and that are close to me. I think what I like best is the family atmosphere that we have here at Olivet. Again, I know I said earlier I couldn't write a better script if I wrote it myself, and that is so true. This department feels really close. I feel like family. The council, Barb, everybody we work with, I enjoy it. I am coming very close to the end of my career, and this has been great. This was a great step for me, and that's what I look at most, is coming into work every day and working with people that I just enjoy being around.
Senior guy.
Could pass it back, but he does outrank me. So Tim was my the assistant chief was my captain when I joined the city of Olivet. That's not my highlight, but I could speak to the calls. There's been numerous calls that have been fulfilling and interesting, whether it's just going over to help somebody with some odd end, a deer stuck in a wire or a raccoon under their porch, or the more serious calls. And those are all part of the job, and it's job fulfillment. But I think, as Chief said, now that I'm a captain, I have 6 other firefighters, a lieutenant, and 5 other firefighters underneath me. And just being able to see them go on calls and do what they do, or if I'm off work and they respond to an emergency, there's not even, a doubt in my mind that I know they're fully capable of handling that. So seeing people progress, learn new skills, become motivated, I think is really, what I enjoy most. And like he said, I love coming into work every day. There's a period of time where, my wife, she knew the day I'd go to work just based on my sleeping habits the night before, because I would not sleep well, because again, the excitement of coming to the job. We spend a third of our lives here. So we work 2 days here and then we're off for 4 days. So a third of our life is spent at this department, and enjoy it every day.
As was mentioned earlier, I've been here for 26 years, be 27 in February. The stories I could tell you on different calls, is just like Parker said, from trying to get the cat out of the tree. Years and years ago, Roman actually asked us to help him on that. It's not the stories, it's the stories from the people you work with, their first experience of catching a fire. They're so excited. I'm not as much, but I'm excited for them. It's that family. It's the stories of the family that really keeps me going. To hear them tell you, hey, I was with you on that first fire. I was here for that rescue. So that's what keeps me going. That's what I like about it.
So I have my own highlights of the fire department. And when you started talking about a volunteer, your father was a volunteer firefighter. My father was also in University City when I was a little girl. So I remember like in the station wagon without seatbelts, we'd be bouncing around, and he'd pull up to a fire and go to the back and get his boots and his gear and go help. And we'd sit in the car and watch in awe. But I also know that as he became, was older, that the fire department was there, like Mr. Goldie said, for falls or, moral support in different situations. But I also think that our fire department does something amazingly well, and that is community involvement. And whether it's Olivet Night Out with the kids, and they're giving out buttons and they're giving out hats, and the kids are getting on the fire truck and they're taking pictures, and in the ambulances. We have a summer camp, and one of my favorite pictures is every summer when you guys unplug the hydrant and the kids are like running in the water. You set up the hoses and the kids are doing that up, at the park. And I think that, those are memories that these kids will hold on for life, is they'll remember. We have different events at least once a year in the firehouse, so families can bring their children. And, during the pandemic and towards the end, and as we were, transitioning to coming back out of our homes, we had some events there. There was one time, I think it was right after you started, where we had an open house in the fire department, and we even had coloring books and stations, and the big coloring book company made us an Olivet. I think your pictures are in it, that the kids could color. But I think the community service you do as well with the schools, the churches, the synagogue in our community is also something really that you should be very proud of. I'd like to take a moment and see if there's any questions in the crowd. We'll begin with Mr. Person.
You mentioned earlier about the swift water rescue in U City. It brings to mind the whole mutual aid aspect of how we work together as communities. How does that whole process work in the dispatch, and what are some of the decisions that how does it work? Know that you need to be called, and then secondly, what percentage of our calls are mutual aid?
I'll start with the last question first. A large majority of our calls are mutual aid. I'd say probably 60–70% maybe. We run mutual aid, and there's only a couple dispatch agencies around the St. Louis area. We are dispatched by East Central Dispatch and then Central County. a majority of the time when we do run mutual aid, we respond through Central County. And it works very well. We get to know a lot of the departments around us through responding on calls with them and just in different facets. You know, we do a lot of stuff through the Union Hall and things like that. And so it's nice to work with. And a lot of times if you're on the same crew and you stay on the same crew, you really get to know those guys in other departments. And they get to know you well too. And mutual aid in St. Louis is one thing. I spent some time up at National Fire Academy, and there are some departments up there that don't even, that you talk about mutual aid and they're like, what's that? So in St. Louis County, we have 42 different fire departments, and we sign agreements that we will help them and they'll come in and help us. And that way we need a ladder truck, we get a ladder truck. If they need something that we have, like, you know, swift water rescue, they call us. So I enjoy that.
Really want to know when the community can come ride the new slide that you guys have. But as a new father, we got the new updated fire extinguisher. Is there anything around the house that you guys recommend, from garage doors to leak detection items outside of what insurance offers, that you guys see that you would recommend for us to do as new parents?
I would recommend definitely on fire extinguishers, yes, and know how to use them first off. Don't just let them sit underneath the sink, know where they're at. Take them out. If it's a regular dry chemical fire extinguisher, shake this up, shake it up to where it doesn't sit there and pancake down, get settled into the bottom where it won't come out when you use it, have to use it. Carbon monoxide detectors, definitely. Smoke detectors, each level, each bedroom of the house. The carbon monoxide definitely closest to where you would sleep at. All right. The precautions, know how to get out of your house. It's, you know, just normal exit drills. Set that alarm off. I know it's a little one, I understand. However, you know, when they get older, Parker's children's age right now might stay at home by themselves a little bit. What are they going to do when smoke alarm goes off? Call mom and dad? Possibly, but they need to get out. So they just need to practice it and get that in their head. They do fire drills at school for a reason. It's that practice. So that's what I would suggest to you.
The only thing I'll add is any cleaning products, medications, things like that, that little ones can get into, make sure they're secured. You know, I think any parent looks back and they're like, wow, that was a really dumb thing that I did as a parent. And sometimes we go to people's houses and they feel really bad because their child got into something. We can't prevent everything. We can't keep our children safe from everything, but just keeping the cabinets, putting the child safety locks on the cabinets, or keeping medication out of your purse if your kid goes through your purse or anything like that. You know, kids get into, they're like puppies, they get into everything. So.
First of all, before we wind up, I do want to thank Kiana. She helps to coordinate these with me. And I always like to announce like who's going to be with us next month. I believe it is on January 11th. And it is going to be Dawn Doty. Did I say that right? And Beth Quigley. I butchered it. Quigley with Shockey. And they're going to be talking about the beginning of our comprehensive plan and where we're headed. So we're really excited about that. And Dawn, I hope you're going to share a little bit about the census report then as well. Awesome. Great. So I also have a few announcements. We have our 4th annual Cops for Pets donation drive going on. It's in the vestibule, and there's a list there of things that you can bring. Yesterday, we ended the Toys for Tots, and the bins were overflowing, and that was hosted by the fire department. Right now, there is a big call for blood drives, and we will be holding one here from 2 to 6 on December 27th. And I also want to remind, going back to the pets situation. All cats and dogs must be registered in Olivet by December 31st. You need to get your tags and there is a late fee. So you need a license renewal. And then Parks is having a Puzzle Palooza evening. And it's coming here from 6 to 8 on January 13th. And it's going to be teams of 5. And it's basically a race to see who can get their jigsaw puzzle finished first. And there will be prizes. And then the last one is we have an energy assistance program with bills. And if you join the Energy Assistance Day on January 19th from 4 to 6:30 at Olivet, representatives, I believe from Ameren, come for that. And you can find out more about that on the Parks and Recreation website. Mr. Newell, I saw you had a question. No, but if you, who's overseeing that?
We'd have to check with the Red Cross.
Okay. If you leave your phone number with Kiana, we can find out and she'll get back to you. I'm sure they do somewhere, but. And then I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning and especially the chief and Chief Steve Carmen, Assistant Chief Tim Fain, and Captain Parker Spencer. So thank you.